The courtroom recording captured the precise instant when a carefully planned act spiraled into complete humiliation. Karen Davis, a 42-year-old woman who believed she had perfected the art of manipulating judges, sat gripping her chest while breathing heavily into a crumpled brown paper bag. Her face twisted dramatically as she acted out what she thought looked like genuine medical distress. Her hands trembled, her breathing echoed loudly through the silent courtroom. And every movement seemed rehearsed for maximum sympathy. Yet, sitting only a few feet away, Judge Judy Scheindlin remained absolutely still. Her arms stayed folded, her expression never changed, and she watched the entire spectacle without the slightest sign of concern. What unfolded over the following 8 minutes would become one of the most replayed courtroom moments ever shared online. The clip exploded across social media, collecting more than 50 million views and turning Karen Davis into a nationwide example of fake victimhood and courtroom manipulation. Karen had entered that courtroom on a Tuesday morning, completely convinced she had created the perfect strategy to escape accountability. For weeks, she had studied panic attack symptoms online, watched videos explaining anxiety disorders, memorized medical phrases like tachycardia and dissociation, and practiced her performance repeatedly in front of a mirror until she believed it looked authentic. Inside her expensive handbag sat the brown paper bag she intended to use during her fake hyperventilation scene. Around her wrist was a medical alert bracelet she had purchased online less than a week earlier. This wasn't genuine fear. It wasn't real emotional distress. It was a calculated performance from someone who had learned that dramatic courtroom theatrics often worked better than facts. What Karen didn't realize was that Judge Judy had witnessed versions of this exact routine hundreds of times throughout nearly 3 decades on the bench. Before court had even started that morning, the judge had already made a phone call that would transform Karen's fake crisis into an unforgettable disaster. But the truly shocking part of this story is that Karen Davis wasn't simply an ordinary plaintiff trying to cheat her way through one case. She was a serial courtroom manipulator who had spent years exploiting the legal system. From 2021 through 2024, Karen filed lawsuits against 11 different people: former landlords, co-workers, the businesses, service providers. Anyone who upset her or refused to give her what she wanted became a target. Her strategy followed the same pattern every single time. She would file claims demanding compensation for emotional distress or anxiety, present herself as a fragile victim, suffering from severe psychological trauma, and the second the case started collapsing, she would suddenly develop a dramatic medical emergency inside the courtroom. Sometimes it was chest pain, sometimes breathing problems, sometimes panic attacks so severe she claimed she couldn't continue. Judges often responded with sympathy, delayed hearings, reduced penalties, or pressured the opposing side toward settlement discussions. Karen had discovered that fake medical distress could be extremely profitable. In March of 2021, during a small claims dispute involving an auto repair bill, Karen suddenly grabbed her chest and claimed she was experiencing dangerous heart palpitations. The concerned court staff immediately called paramedics. When medical professionals arrived, they found absolutely nothing wrong with her. But the hearing had already been delayed, and Karen later pressured the other party into abandoning the case completely. In August 2022, while facing multiple parking violations in traffic court, she claimed severe breathing problems that supposedly prevented her from continuing. Again, paramedics found completely normal vital signs. Nevertheless, the judge reduced her penalties out of sympathy. In February 2023, she requested an ambulance during another civil hearing after claiming she was suffering a terrifying anxiety attack. Once more, the emergency responders found no evidence of any medical emergency. Anyone examining the full pattern would have recognized exactly what was happening. But most judges only encountered Karen once. They had no idea they were dealing with someone who had transformed fake medical distress into a courtroom strategy. The lawsuit that finally brought Karen into Judge Judy's courtroom was arguably her boldest attempt yet. Karen was suing Robert James, a 67-year-old retired high school teacher whose only mistake had been renting one of his properties to her for 8 months. Robert believed he was entering a normal landlord-tenant arrangement. Instead, the experience turned into a financial and emotional nightmare. According to Robert, Karen systematically damaged his property. She painted walls dark colors without permission. Allowed her cats to destroy sections of flooring, cracked bathroom tiles, and treated the home as if it belonged to her. Whenever Robert attempted to address the damage respectfully, Karen responded aggressively, threatening to make his life miserable if he continued bothering her. After refusing to pay her final month's rent of $500, Karen was eventually evicted through proper legal channels. Even after using her security deposit, Robert still faced nearly $4,800 in repair costs. But Karen wasn't done. Only 2 weeks after the eviction, she filed a lawsuit against Robert in small claims court demanding $3,500 for emotional distress and therapy expenses. She claimed Robert's actions had caused her to develop severe anxiety and panic disorder, conditions she insisted she had never suffered before renting his property. She arrived in Judge Judy's courtroom carrying no therapy bills, no medical documentation, and no records whatsoever. But she believed her performance would be enough. Judge Judy entered the courtroom with her usual sharp, no-nonsense presence, her black robe flowing behind her as she approached the bench. Earlier that morning, she had already spent considerable time reviewing Karen's legal history, and what she found immediately raised suspicions. Karen's pattern wasn't subtle. It was textbook manipulation. Judge Judy had quietly contacted local paramedics before the hearing even began. She arranged for them to remain available nearby if needed. She intended to discover once and for all whether Karen's medical episodes were genuine or entirely fabricated. Karen sat confidently in the plaintiff's seat, wearing carefully selected clothing meant to project innocence and vulnerability. Her makeup had been applied deliberately to make her appear tired and emotionally exhausted. Across from her sat Robert James, clutching a folder filled with receipts and photographs, looking emotionally drained from months of stress. The courtroom audience settled into silence as cameras prepared to capture every moment. Judge Judy opened immediately. Ems Davis, you're suing your former landlord for emotional distress related to your eviction. Explain this anxiety disorder you claim he caused. Karen began speaking smoothly, clearly rehearsed and confident. Your Honor, the eviction completely traumatized me. I'd never experienced anxiety before this. Mr. James constantly harassed me, intimidated me, and forced me from my home. Since then, I've developed panic disorder, insomnia, severe stress. I've needed therapy just to function normally again. Judge Judy raised an eyebrow slightly, a warning sign longtime viewers instantly recognized. You mentioned therapy, the judge said calmly. Do you have receipts for those sessions? Karen hesitated. Not with me today, Your Honor, but I can provide them later. Judge Judy's expression didn't move. You came to court asking for compensation related to therapy costs. But you brought no proof of therapy. Karen shifted in her chair. Judge Judy continued. What's your therapist's name? Karen paused, just a fraction too long. Dr. Martinez on Westwood Boulevard. Judge Judy wrote something down quietly, and that simple movement visibly unsettled Karen. The judge then turned toward Robert James. Robert's voice shook slightly as he explained what Karen had put him through. Your Honor, I rented to Ms. Davis in good faith. I'm retired. That property supplements my pension. I've been a landlord for 15 years and never experienced anything remotely like this. He handed photographs to the judge showing severe property damage throughout the rental. She painted walls without permission, damaged flooring, ruined carpeting with her pets, broke bathroom tiles, and refused to pay rent. When I asked her to stop damaging the property, she threatened me. Judge Judy carefully examined each photograph. How much did repairs cost you? Robert handed over receipts. Approximately $4,800, Your Honor. Judge Judy turned back toward Karen. You're asking for emotional distress damages while these photographs show extensive damage to someone else's property. How do you explain this? Karen immediately became defensive. Those pictures are exaggerated. It was normal wear and tear. Besides, the stress of dealing with Mr. James is what caused my anxiety in the first place. Judge Judy leaned forward slightly. The trap was about to close. Ms. Davis, she asked casually, how long exactly have you suffered from panic disorder? Karen answered immediately. Since the eviction, about 6 months. And before that? I never had anxiety before this. Never. Judge Judy nodded slowly. So prior to renting from Mr. James, you never experienced panic attacks, anxiety disorder, or similar medical episodes? Karen shook her head firmly. Never. Judge Judy opened another folder. That's very interesting, she said calmly. Because these documents tell a completely different story. Karen's expression flickered. Judge Judy continued. Ms. Davis, you've filed 11 lawsuits over the last 3 years. And in several of those cases, you suddenly developed medical emergencies when proceedings stopped going your way. The color slowly drained from Karen's face. In March 2021, you experienced severe heart palpitations during a small claims hearing. Paramedics found nothing wrong. In August 2022, you suffered respiratory distress in traffic court. Again, completely normal vitals. In February 2023, another panic attack requiring an ambulance. No medical emergency found. Murmurs spread through the courtroom audience. Judge Judy's voice hardened. You seem to experience very convenient medical crises, Ms. Davis. They occur when you're losing, and they disappear the moment medical professionals examine you. Karen's breathing suddenly became quicker, but this time it wasn't performance. This was real panic from someone watching years of manipulation collapse publicly. That's not fair, Karen protested nervously. Those situations were different. Judge Judy stared directly at her. These are documented court records and paramedic reports, not opinions. Facts. Then came the moment that changed everything. Karen suddenly clutched her chest dramatically. I can't breathe, she gasped, reaching into her purse and pulling out the brown paper bag. Her body began shaking violently. I'm having a panic attack right now. My heart is racing. I feel dizzy. I'm dissociating. She hyperventilated loudly into the paper bag while slumping sideways in her chair. The courtroom grew tense. Some audience members looked concerned. Others immediately recognized the act. The bailiff stepped forward uncertainly. Robert James sat frozen in disbelief, and Judge Judy, she didn't move, not even slightly. Her face remained completely expressionless as Karen continued performing. 10 seconds passed, then 20, then 30. Karen kept breathing dramatically into the bag, occasionally peeking through her fingers to see whether anyone was reacting the way she hoped. Judge Judy still sat perfectly motionless. The audience slowly realized what was happening. The judge was refusing to reward the performance. Karen intensified the act. "Please, I need help. This is serious." Finally, Judge Judy spoke. "Ms. Davis," she said flatly, "are you finished?" Karen continued gasping. "I need medical attention. This is real." Then Judge Judy did something nobody expected. She reached for the courtroom phone. In nearly 3 decades of television courtroom history, she had almost never interrupted proceedings like this. She pressed a button calmly. "Bailiff, contact paramedics immediately. Ms. Davis claims she's experiencing a medical emergency, and we take those very seriously here. Also have an officer come upstairs. I'd like an official witness present." Karen's reaction was immediate. Her hyperventilating slowed almost instantly. Her eyes widened in genuine fear. "Wait," she stammered. "Maybe I just need water." Judge Judy remained ice cold. "No, Ms. Davis. You described severe symptoms, difficulty breathing, racing heart, dissociation. Those are serious medical concerns. We're going to make sure you receive a complete medical evaluation." Karen tried desperately to retreat. "I think I'm already feeling better." Judge Judy leaned forward. "You've wasted court time and emergency resources before with similar claims. We are not leaving this courtroom until medical professionals determine whether you are genuinely experiencing a medical emergency." Silence filled the room. Karen suddenly realized she was trapped. If she admitted she was fine, she would expose herself publicly as a liar. If she continued pretending, trained paramedics would medically prove she was faking. Judge Judy had cornered her perfectly. Exactly 3 minutes later, the courtroom doors opened and 2 paramedics entered carrying medical equipment. The lead paramedic approached Karen calmly. "Mom, can you describe your symptoms?" Karen sounded uncertain now. "I was struggling to breathe, but maybe it's getting better." Judge Judy interrupted immediately. "Please conduct a complete examination." The paramedics unpacked their equipment. This would not be a quick check. This would be a full evaluation performed directly in front of courtroom cameras and witnesses. Karen sat stiffly as they wrapped a blood pressure cuff around her arm and attached monitoring devices. "How anxious do you currently feel on a scale from 1 to 10? The paramedic asked. Karen hesitated. "Maybe 7. Any chest pain?" "A little, maybe." Every answer sounded uncertain and improvised. The blood pressure monitor beeped. The paramedic looked at the screen. "The blood pressure is in 20/78. Completely normal." Karen swallowed nervously. "Heart rate is 82 beats per minute. Also normal." The pulse oximeter beeped steadily. "Oxygen saturation is 99%. No evidence of respiratory distress." Each reading systematically destroyed Karen's performance with clinical precision. The second paramedic completed his examination before turning toward Judge Judy. "Your Honor, we are finding no signs whatsoever of a medical emergency. Vital signs are completely normal. No tachycardia, no breathing distress, no indication of panic attack symptoms requiring medical treatment." Judge Judy nodded slowly. "So, for the official record, Ms. Davis is not currently experiencing a medical emergency?" "That is correct." The paramedics gathered their equipment and exited. Karen sat motionless, publicly exposed. Judge Judy looked directly at her. "Your vital signs are remarkably healthy for someone who claimed to be experiencing a medical crisis moments ago." Karen attempted one final defense. "I was scared." Judge Judy cut her off immediately. "Scared because your lies were unraveling." Then the judge opened another folder. "Let's review your history." She listed every previous fake courtroom medical episode in detail. Heart palpitations in 2021, respiratory distress in 2022, anxiety attacks in 2023, chest pain in housing court. Every incident ended the same way. Completely normal medical findings. Then Judge Judy revealed something even more damaging. Printed screenshots from Karen's own social media accounts. The day after your so-called heart emergency, you posted concert photos online. The day after your respiratory distress, you checked into a gym. After your panic attack in civil court, you uploaded beach vacation pictures. Karen stared downward silently. Judge Judy addressed the camera directly. "This," she said firmly, "is what manipulation looks like. The Ms. Davis studies symptoms online, memorizes medical language, and stages fake emergencies when cases stop going her way. Previous courts rewarded this behavior with sympathy. But she made one enormous mistake. She tried it here." Applause erupted throughout the courtroom. Karen slumped lower in her seat. Then came the ruling. Case dismissed. Karen closed her eyes. Mr. James's counterclaim is granted in full. Ms. Davis, you owe $4,800 in property damages, $1,500 in unpaid rent, and $2,000 in court costs and legal fees. Judge Judy paused. You entered this courtroom demanding $3,500. You are leaving owing $8,500. Then came the final blow. Ms. Davis, you have wasted court resources, emergency personnel time, and taxpayer money through repeated fraudulent medical claims. This footage and ruling will be forwarded throughout this jurisdiction. The next time you attempt this performance in another courtroom, the judges will know exactly who you are." Judge Judy lifted the gavel. "We're adjourned. Get out of my courtroom." The gavel slammed down. Within hours of the episode airing, the clips flooded every major social media platform. The footage of Judge Judy sitting motionless while Karen dramatically hyperventilated became instantly iconic. The millions shared screenshots and memes mocking the failed performance. Hashtags related to the case trended globally. By the end of the week, the clip had surpassed 50 million views, becoming one of the most viral courtroom moments in television history. Karen Davis entered court hoping for sympathy, attention, and money. Instead, she became a nationwide example of what happens when someone tries to manipulate a judge who has already seen every trick imaginable.